We're back. Hour 2 of the Marc Patrone radio program right here in Saga 960. So very glad you could start your week with us. Now, Fox News has been under a lot of pressure from conservatives who frankly felt that the network had betrayed them, particularly when it called Arizona for Biden before a lot of other networks and before the votes were counted. In fact, votes are still being counted, and it could still go for Trump. But what happened after that was the sense that that Fox was no longer in favor of Trump and had frankly turned on many of the people who form Fox's base. And so we're hearing a lot of people say, I'm not going to watch Fox News anymore. Fox News is on the other side. And so that's one of the things that has come out as a result of this election. But Miles Christen is going to join us from near Madison with his take on what's happening as far as the ongoing suspicions that not all was on the up and up in the election, particularly in Wisconsin. Miles, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I gotta say that, think about it. Fox News makes a lot more money when there's a Democrat in office, and they also donated to Hillary's campaign. So,
why do they make more money when there's a Democrat in the? I don't know. Well, I don't understand.
Because then everyone turns to them for the hard-hitting news against when there's a Republican in office, it's kind of more they're on the defense of defending, and it's so much easier to be on the offense for them. Well,
I don't know. Tucker Carlson is awfully popular and was awfully popular throughout the Trump time in office. And Hannity was popular as well. I mean, I think Tucker had the most watched cable show anywhere in the United States. So I'm not sure about that, but you're down there. So are you a Fox guy? Are you a Fox News guy or not?
No. I mean, I'll watch it from time to time. I think it's good to watch as many different news sources as possible.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what's the situation with Wisconsin now? Is it true that a lot of ballots materialized out of the blue and that many of those votes, in fact, all of them, were for Biden? Is that true or not?
I really don't think that there are 20,000 fake ballots or I think Wisconsin's very close and could some individuals have tampered with the results? Sure. I don't think that they would have possibly been able to get, the 20,000 votes needed to make Wisconsin a blue state. And, for the last 4 years, I've been saying it's like they've got these high school kids basically using tax dollars and organizing these events. And all the state Republicans were basically ignoring the fact that there was just this huge amount of money, we're talking taxpayer money being used on, and not just that, all these protest organizations this summer a lot of them were funded by guys like Governor Scott Walker for some reason, and the youth came out, and I think that's what caused Biden to win Wisconsin.
There is this story, Miles. Wisconsin election clerks may have illegally altered thousands of ballots. Poll workers in Wisconsin may have unlawfully changed thousands of mail-in ballots due to unlawful guidance from the state's election commission. According to Wisconsin law, an absentee ballot requires that it be signed by a witness who also lists his or her address. Should the ballot not contain a witness address, the ballot is disallowed and must be returned to the voter so that the witness can provide that information. Have you heard anything around possible misdeeds regarding that?
I have not. I mean, I have seen, article on it, but, the Wisconsin Elections Commission was kind of revamped and set up by Governor Scott Walker. There was an elections board before under the governor, 2 governors ago, which was a Democrat named Jim Doyle. Scott Walker came in and changed it all around, made voting much more strict in Wisconsin. He and the Republican Assembly, Senate, put forth the voter ID laws. I mean, they put a lot of stuff in, so I really doubt that there is much voter tampering going on in Wisconsin particularly.
Okay, what about other states? What have you heard about? Have you heard anything about Pennsylvania, for instance, or Georgia?
Well, Georgia, it's possible, and even Pennsylvania, it's possible. But, we're talking about, Biden being up by 5 million votes. I think it's safe to say he won the popular vote. Now, you talk about an individual state, and had 5,000 votes been tampered or manipulated somehow, still probably not enough to change the state. With a lot of these states, you're talking 10, 20,000 vote difference to get that electoral votes. And even if you disqualified Pennsylvania or Georgia or a number of these states, we're looking at Biden having something like 306 electoral votes to something like, 220, 214 for Trump. I think it's safe to say that Trump, in my opinion, I think Trump lost the election.
What about Arizona? Arizona could flip. And so my point is that, it seems like the Biden camp is being rewarded potentially now for having rigged elections in a bunch of different states. That's why you take the strategy whereby massive rigging is accepted. Oh, well, I guess he must have won because look at all the huge amount of rigging that they did. But if it was just one state, people would be suspicious. But, it's like they're being almost rewarded for having, tweaked the vote or changed the vote in a number of different states where you're talking about. Does it make sense to you that they would win, say, Ohio by 6-7 points, and win Florida by 5, and yet lose a state like Arizona, which has only gone Democrat once since 1972? Does that make sense to you?
I don't know. I think this is one thing we're going to see is that Republicans are definitely going to want to, recounts, and they're going to investigate more. And with the Democrats right now, they're done. They're all checked out. Like, it's over for them. They think they're just going to coast into January, and they don't realize, and there should be, recounts, and there should be certifications of every vote. Back in the 1800s, the United States basically voted for a couple months. And, really, they should get the votes. They should certify each vote as they come in. And then it shouldn't just be a couple-day process or, we now have some level of early voting. There should be a long process of voting and certifying each vote.
Yeah, I suppose so. Miles Kristen joining us in Saga 960. I guess all eyes are on Georgia right now. You were talking about Georgia, Miles, and the two Senate seats that are subject to, what is it, a runoff? Is that how it works? Or is it a recount? I know that there are recounts in other states, including Wisconsin. That's still going on. But I guess it's those two closely contested Senate seats that could decide whether the Senate goes Republican or goes Democrat.
Yeah. And you think about it, for sure, the U.S. Supreme Court is going to be conservative, and whether the Democrats take the Senate or not, Republicans control the majority of governorships in this country. I really don't think, even if, Biden's the president, he has a Democratic Senate, it's not like he's going to have the ability to just do whatever he wants. Republicans still held a lot of power in this country.
Yeah, and they'll continue to do so. The House is still in Democrat hands, although, and this is the other weird part of all this, it doesn't seem to make any sense where you say, well, not only did Trump, he kicked butt in Florida, these battleground states like Ohio, and then he loses a traditionally red state like Arizona, and by the way, the House loses seats, gains seats, rather for the Republicans. So the Democrats lost House seats, Miles. They lost House seats. If they won the Senate, it is extremely tight. And yet we're to believe that, I guess, people voted to get rid of Trump, but voted in favor of flipping the House from Democrat to GOP. That didn't happen entirely, but it looks like the Democrats lost 7 or 8 seats in the House.
Well, and North Carolina, for instance, reelected a Democrat governor, but gave the presidency for Trump. I mean, there are people out there who will vote, mixed ticket.
Have you heard of a lot of people, for instance, who vote only for the president? Because now we're looking at 450,000 ballots only have the mark for Biden. All right. So, in other words, this is bizarre.
I only voted for president because I couldn't believe in anybody on my ballot.
So you didn't.
I guess I don't really believe in anybody who was on my ballot, but I voted for one guy out of fear about the other guy, even though I probably would agree with the other guy on policies a little bit more.
All right, so you didn't vote for a senator, or a House person, or something like that? You just voted?
No, because my congressman voted for. He used to be this big progressive, and then he voted for the reauthorization of the Patriot Act 8 months ago.
Speaking of which, I mean, are you going to miss having a president in power, assuming that Biden takes over, who has not started a war? I mean, as a libertarian, guys like you are against starting new wars, are against intervention overseas, and yet you had a president who had not started anywhere, the first president in decades not to have done that. You end up now getting Biden, who I think is chomping at the bit to start another war.
Yeah. Oh, and Kamala Harris is, definitely in the pocket of the, war manufacturers. It was a terrible choice because, I disagreed with Trump on many things. He was, in many ways, better on a lot of issues. He was better for, a lot of people in the African-American community. He believed in criminal justice reform, and he was better on a lot of aspects of foreign policy. But, myself and a lot of people voted against him just simply because of the way he downplayed COVID. And then we could debate forever about the positives and negatives of what he did as far as COVID. But, he didn't. I don't think he took it seriously enough. And I really think that's the biggest reason that he will most likely be out in January.
Yeah, but Miles, he's the one who stopped the flights in from China against the demands of the Democrats, who called him a racist for doing it.
I agree. That is one aspect. I mean, and then the biggest to me, I think, would be the testing and so forth. I mean, right now, I think that the question is, if Trump's going to be out in a few months, what should he do with the time he's got left? I mean, I would say get the troops out. Edward Snowden, do things like that, but I think they're going to spend a lot of time trying to win these states. I don't think they're going to be able to win.
Well, maybe there's a legal course of action for them to take, because if there is substantial evidence that this thing was rigged, then there should be a redo on it. At least that's my take. I mean, it's your country, Miles. I mean, we're looking at it as outsiders, but we need America to continue being a bastion of freedom. And if it's not, well, the rest of us are in big trouble. But thank you for coming on the show, Miles.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Miles Kristen coming to us from the Madison area. Okay, and we'll be back after this commercial break on Saga 960 after this.